Hello dear students, welcome to today's class. I hope all of you are doing well and ready to learn something new today. Before start the class, I want to show you a picture. Students, look at this picture carefully. Do you remember this incident? Yes, it's Madhu from Attapadi. He was a poor tribal youth who was beaten to death because he took some food to satisfy his hunger. Okay, then how do you feel when you hear such a news? Yes, it was very sad and injustice. And it is a clear violation of human rights. Every human being deserves to live with dignity and equality. Right to life is a human right. Okay, now you think, if someone's human rights are violated, who will protect them? Yes, for that we have a Human Rights Commission to protect our human rights. There are national as well as state human rights commission. Today we are going to discuss about Human Rights Commission. Firstly, we are considering National Human Rights Commission. National Human Rights Commission or NHRC is an independent statutory body in India established on October 12, 1993 under the protection of Human Rights Act 1993. Headquarters of NHRC is at New Delhi. Its primary role is to protect and promote human rights, which include the right to life, liberty, equality and dignity of the individual as guaranteed by the Constitution or international covenants. The NHRC acts as a watchdog investigating human rights violation and recommending actions to the government while also working to raise public awareness. Then, structure of National Human Rights Commission. Now, we are considering the structure of National Human Rights Commission. There is a chairperson of Human Rights Commission who is a retired Chief Justice of India or Judge of the Supreme Court. Then there are 5 full-time members, that is retired or serving Judge of the Supreme Court, retired or serving the Chief Justice of a High Court, 3 other members to be appointed from persons having knowledge and practical experience in matters of human rights, 1 who shall be a woman. Then there is 7 deemed members. Chairpersons of the National Commission for Minorities, Backward Classes, Persons with Disabilities, Scheduled Caste, Scheduled Tribes, and Protection of Child Rights and Women. The appointment of the chairperson and the members of NHRC is carried out by the President of India based on the recommendations of a 6-member committee. This committee is headed by the Prime Minister and includes the following members: Speaker of the Lok Sabha, Deputy Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, leaders of the opposition in both houses of Parliament, and Union Home Minister. I repeat, Speaker of the Lok Sabha, Deputy Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, leaders of the opposition in both houses of the Parliament, and Union Home Minister. Additionally, the appointment of a sitting judge of the Supreme Court or a sitting Chief Justice of a High Court requires prior consultation with the Chief Justice of India. Then, the chairperson and the members of NHRC serve for a term of 3 years or until they reach the age of 70 years. Whichever is earlier, they are eligible for reappointment following the completion of their term. However, once their tenure concludes, neither the chairperson nor the members are permitted to seek further employment with the central or state governments. Then, let's discuss about various functions of NHRC. Functions of NHRC. The National Human Rights Commission is entrusted with a variety of functions aimed at promoting and protecting human rights across India. These functions include conducting inquiries into violations, recommending measures for improvement, and raising awareness about human rights issues. Okay, now let's discuss about some key functions of NHRC. First one, to inquire into any violation of human rights or negligence in preventing such violation by public servants either on its initiative based on petitions presented to it or by order of a court. Then, second one, to intervene in any ongoing court proceedings involving allegations of human rights violations. Third one, to visit prisons and detention centers to assess the living conditions of inmates and make recommendations for improvements. Next one, to review constitutional and legal safeguards for the protection of human rights and suggest measures for their effective implementation. To analyze factors such as acts of terrorism that impair the enjoyment of human rights and recommend necessary remedial actions. To study treaties and international human rights instruments and recommend effective measures for their implementation. To promote and conduct research in the field of human rights. To enhance human rights literacy among public and increase awareness of the protections available for these rights. To support the initiatives of non-governmental organizations working in the area of human rights. To undertake any other functions deemed necessary for the promotion of human rights. Once again, I repeat all these points. First one, to inquire into any violation of human rights or negligence in preventing such violations by public servants, either on its initiative based on petitions presented to it or by order of a court. Then, to intervene in any ongoing court proceedings involving allegations of human rights violations. Then, to visit prisons and detention centers to assess the living conditions of inmates and make recommendations for improvements. To review constitutional and legal safeguards for the protection of human rights and suggest measures for their effective implementation. To analyze treaties and international human rights instruments and recommend effective measures for their implementation. To promote and conduct research in the field of human rights. To enhance human rights literacy among public and increase awareness of the protections available for these rights. To support the initiatives of non-governmental organizations working in the area of human rights. To undertake any other functions deemed necessary for the promotion of human rights. Okay students, hope all of you got the basic awareness about National Human Rights Commission. Now let's move on to the State Human Rights Commission. What are the functions of State Human Rights Commissions? The functions of State Human Rights Commission include: first one, inquiring into any violation of human rights or negligence in preventing such violation by a public servant on a petition presented to it or on an order of a court. Second one, intervening in any proceedings involving allegations of violation of human rights pending before a court. Visiting jails and detention places to assess the living conditions of inmates and make recommendations. Reviewing the constitutional and other legal safeguards for the protection of human rights and suggest measures for their effective implementation. Next one, reviewing factors including acts of terrorism that impair the enjoyment of human rights and recommend corrective measures. Undertaking and promoting research in the field of human rights. Last one, spreading human rights literacy among the people and promoting awareness of the safeguards available for the protection of these rights. There are various powers bestowed upon the Commission. However, due to several reasons, the Commission is unable to execute the role provided to them in an effective manner. So, we are moving to the limitations of the Commission. First one, the Commission is not empowered to inquire into any matter after the expire of 1 year from the date of act of violation. Secondly, the Commission has no power to punish the violators of human rights or to award any relief, including monetary relief, to the victim. Thirdly, the Commission's recommendations are not binding on the concerned government or authority. Fourthly, the Commission also has a limited role, power and jurisdiction in case of human rights violation by the member or armed forces. And finally, violation of human rights by private parties cannot be considered under National Human Rights Commission jurisdiction. Once again, I repeat the points. First one, the Commission is not empowered to inquire into any matter after the expire of 1 year from the date or act of violation. Secondly, the Commission has no power to punish the violators of human rights or to award any relief, including monetary relief, to the victim. Thirdly, the recommendations of the Commission are not binding on the concerned government or authority. Fourthly, the Commission also has a limited role, power and jurisdiction in case of human rights violation by the member or armed forces. And finally, violation of human rights by private parties cannot be considered under National Human Rights Commission jurisdiction. To overcome these limitations which hampers working of Human Rights Commission, some steps must be initiated, such as the recommendations made by Commission should be made enforceable. Then, members of National Human Rights Commission should include civil society, human rights activists, etc. Next, National Human Rights Commission should have its independent investigating staff recruited by itself, rather than present practice of deputation. Fourthly, the time limit of 1 year must not be used in a rigid manner. Rather, some flexibility should be allowed depending upon the case. These are the steps we can take to overcome the limitations of the Commission. Then, currently, the National Human Rights Commission is headed by V. Ramasubramanian, a former Supreme Court judge, who was appointed as the 9th chairperson on December 23, 2024. So students, please note, current National Human Rights Commission chairperson is V. Ramasubramanian, a former Supreme Court judge who was appointed as the 9th chairperson on December 23, 2024. Now, we are considering some few notable recent interventions made by National Human Rights Commission. In one case, the National Human Rights Commission intervened in a matter involving alleged labor law and human rights violations at a warehouse of Amazon near New Delhi. Workers reportedly complained of lack of water and toilet breaks during a heat wave. The National Human Rights Commission called on the Labour Ministry to examine the allegations urgently. Then in another case, the National Human Rights Commission took suo motu on its own initiative cognizance of the arrest of a professor of Ashoka University in Haryana linked to a social media post and issued notice to the state DGP to check the legality and rights implications of the arrest. Then in another case, a particularly grave case in the state of Kerala involved the death by hanging of a student, J.S. Siddharthan, at the hostel of Kerala Veterinary and Animal Science University, Pukot campus in February 2024, allegedly after brutal ragging. The National Human Rights Commission directed the state government to pay compensation of 7 lakh rupees to the parents of the deceased, finding negligence in hostel supervision. The state government challenged the National Human Rights Commission's authority and the order in the High Court. In another case, the National Human Rights Commission registered a petition regarding the public humiliation of a tribal couple in Kanjamanjudi village, where they were tied to a yoke and made to till a field as punishment for a relationship deemed taboo by villagers. The National Human Rights Commission took cognizance under Articles 21 and 19 of the Constitution, life, dignity and freedom, and asked for an independent investigation and compensation. Now, we are going to discuss some points related to Education and Human Rights Commission. First one, Human Rights Education Promotion. The National Human Rights Commission plays an active role in promoting human rights education, HRE, across schools, colleges and universities. It believes that respect for human rights must begin in the classroom. National Human Rights Commission has developed curriculum modules, teacher training programs and study materials on topics like equality, dignity, gender justice and child rights. Second one, collaboration with educational institutions. National Human Rights Commission collaborates with bodies like NCERT, UGC and NCTE to include human rights themes in school and teacher education syllabus. It has signed MOUs with universities to establish human rights centers and conduct awareness workshops. Example, National Human Rights Commission has partnered with several state universities to hold human rights awareness camps for students. Thirdly, human rights cells and clubs. The Commission encourages the creation of human rights clubs or cells in colleges. These clubs organizes debates, poster competitions, essay writing and rallies on topics such as child labor, women's safety and environmental rights. Then fourthly, training and capacity building. National Human Rights conducts training for teachers, police trainee and social workers to help them understand human rights issues and integrate those values in their work. It arranges orientation programs for principals, headmasters and educational administrators. Fifthly, protection of rights in educational institutions. NHRC and SHRC often intervene in education-related human rights violations, such as cases of ragging and student suicides. For example, Kerala veterinary student case, issues of discrimination, corporal punishment and denial of admission or unsafe hostel conditions. Through such interventions, the commissions remind institutions of their duty to protect students' dignity and mental well-being. Sixthly, Human Rights Day and awareness campaigns. National Human Rights Commission celebrates Human Rights Day December 10th with essay competition, exhibitions in schools and colleges. These events motivate students to become responsible and aware citizens. Next one, educational research and publications. The Commission publishes educational booklets, newsletters, and research reports on human rights issues. It also funds research projects on topics like child rights, inclusive education, and gender equality. Last one, Value Education Connection. National Human Rights Commission educational initiatives connect closely with the value education, aiming to develop respect, empathy, and non-violence among students. It helps integrate the idea that every child and every person deserves equal respect and opportunity. Once again, we look back into the main points related to Education and Human Rights Commission. First one, Human Rights Education Promotion. Second one, collaboration with educational institutions. Third one, human rights cells and clubs. Fourth one, training and capacity building. Fifth one, protection of rights in educational institutions. Then Human Rights Day and awareness campaigns. All of you please note, Human Rights Day is observed on December 10th. Then seventh point is educational research and publication. Then eighth one and final one, value education and connection. Okay students, it's enough for today. We can conclude the class. Before conclude the class, let's have a quick rewind what we learned today. First of all, we saw what are human rights. Then we learned about National Human Rights Commission, that is NHRC. Then what is the structure of NHRC and functions of NHRC. Then we moved into State Human Rights Commission. There also we saw structure and various functions of State Human Rights Commission or SHRC. Then we discussed about limitations of commission and what are the steps must be initiated to remove limitations. We saw current Human Rights Commission and discussed recent cases intervened by it. Lastly, we considered points related to Education and Human Rights Commission. Okay students, see you in next class. Thank you.